It's a pleasure to be here. It's a great pleasure to be with my friends and colleagues from China and around the world. Much will certainly change in the world of US foreign policy when Joe Biden enters the White House. There will be a more measured tone, less reliance upon Twitter to announce policy, and less of a direct attack on the administrative state, or what Donald Trump calls the deep state. The general foreign policy orientation driven by Trump of America first will no longer be part of the rhetoric of the presidency, although even this is not entirely clear. Trump has certainly put the question of the direct self-interest of the United States on the table, something which Biden will not be able to ignore. There was something particularly brusque about Trump, illustrated by the way he shoved aside Montenegro's Prime Minister Duško Marković at the 2017 NATO meeting. Biden might not push and shove his way to the front of the group, but his silvery smile will camouflage as ruthless a set of aims. The framework to analyze the distance between Trump and Biden has been seen through a deceptive dichotomy. Trump is described as isolationist, with his America First policy seen as a stance toward the world that suggested that he wanted to take care of US domestic policy first before stepping out into the world. But this doesn't account for Trump's aggressive posture against Cuba, Iran, and Venezuela, with his heightened illegal sanctions policy against these countries. It does not explain his total fealty to the Israeli project to annihilate Palestine. Nor does it fully explain his so-called trade war against China and the creation of new international mechanisms to prevent China's relations with other countries. Whether these mechanisms be the Millennium Challenge Corporation or American Créché, which are commercial, or the pressure to break with Huawei, which has a mafia edge to it. None of these policies strike me as isolationist in any way. It is also misleading to call Biden an internationalist or a multilateralist. Biden will prosecute the same kinds of policies with a facade of alliance building, particularly with the United States' European allies. Trump, in his 4 years, and Biden, in his almost, 4 decades in public office, have been committed to a policy that seeks to advance the self-interest of the ruling elites in the United States and the self-interest of the transnational corporations domiciled in the North Atlantic states, whether it be in the United States, Canada, or indeed in Europe. They differ in their strategy, but not in their motive. Trump believed that the alliance system with the European countries was not as effective as it should have been, while Biden will try to strengthen the alliance system or that particular alliance system. But it is not as if Trump did not build alliances. The Quad with Australia, India, and Japan, along with the United States, was a substantial international alliance used to put pressure on China largely by military means. It is just that the alliances and his strategies that Trump used were different. The motive to maintain US primacy and to prevent the growth of genuine global democracy remains the same, as does the beneficiaries of their policy, the ruling elites in the United States and in Europe, as well as the transnational corporations that these elites control and benefit from. One stunning fact, during Trump's trade war against China, Not one US Silicon Valley CEO has made a robust public statement condemning the war. Many of these CEOs are liberals, many of them otherwise quite hostile to Trump on cultural or ethical grounds. But none of them, not individually or as a group, decided to write an opinion piece asking for a dial down of the trade war, since so many of them relied upon China for their manufacturing. When Tim Cook of Apple had his summit with Trump in August 2019, he made it clear that Apple's manufacturing in China suffered against Samsung because the South Korean company was not paying tariffs. There was no broad statement against the attempt by the United States to push back against Huawei and ZTE. This is largely because Silicon Valley firms know that on certain key technological developments, such as 5G, Internet of All Things, robotics, GPS, Chinese firms have clearly produced next generation technologies and in many cases leapfrogged over US firms. These firms, these Silicon Valley firms, want the US administration, whether Trump or Biden, to use the entire weight of the state to give them an advantage. This includes using the security apparatus to accuse Huawei of being involved in Chinese government espionage. It is a curiosity that none of the Silicon Valley firms worry about privacy per se, because according to Edward Snowden's revelations, the National Security Agency uses the PRISM program to collect data freely from Silicon Valley internet firms. But they use the privacy and espionage arguments to try and hurt Chinese tech firms and protect the intellectual property and market advantage of Silicon Valley. Since this is the real cause of the trade war, not merely to advantage US steel firms, but also Silicon Valley, there is every likelihood that Biden, by the way, has said so, that his administration will continue to prosecute the trade war. China's Belt and Road Initiative, which was set up in 2013, was met by the Obama and Biden administration with the Trans-Pacific Partnership in 2015. The TPP was set up explicitly to try and break China's commercial relations within Asia. Trump jettisoned the TPP and went for a more direct trade war. Again, the strategy was different, but the motive and goal are the same. During the Bush administration in 2004, the US government set up the Millennium Challenge Corporation to provide aid. Use of this grant in both Nepal and Sri Lanka has clearly been seen as a way for the United States to undermine the Belt and Road. Now the US government, with bipartisan support, has created the Growth in Americas, or American Crèche, to try and undermine Chinese business interests in Latin America and the Caribbean. This connection has been made very explicit in El Salvador, for instance, where the United States and Japan have directly told the government of El Salvador not to sign an agreement for the upgrading of a port by a Chinese company. Once again, there is bipartisan support for the use of these instruments to undermine the Belt and Road Initiative. There will be no let up on this pressure. Liberal commentators say that Biden will be more internationalist or more multilateral. Evidence for this is offered in Biden's pledge to return the United States to the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the Iran deal, and the 2016 Paris Agreement, or the climate process. The United States will not come back to these treaties to develop a multilateral process. This return to the Iran deal and to the Paris Agreement is entirely premised on Biden's priority to rebuild and consolidate the North Atlantic or Western alliance system, which has been eroded by Trump's attack on European underfunding of NATO by his withdrawal from the Iran deal and from the Paris Accord. Biden returns here as a show of faith. Let's be clear that the United States under Obama did not enter these deals to advance a multilateral process. The United States entered the Iranian deal because the Europeans were desperate for a source of energy after the United States destroyed access to Libyan oil after the NATO war of 2011 and to Russian natural gas with the Ukraine conflict in 2014. Obama agreed to the 2015 Iran deal because the Europeans were desperate not to line up with the demands of international law. Biden will give the Europeans this gift. On climate, the United States watered down Paris, but will return to the table only to give the appearance of multilateralism. The fact is that Biden will want to subordinate Europe so as to better confront China. A Biden presidency based on this reading of the record of the United States relations with China over the past 20 years will not calm this United States imposed hybrid war, this Cold War on China. Thank you very much.